Hey, welcome to the All of You podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Siobhan Roy.
And I'm Dave Martinell.
Our relationship hasn't always been easy. Especially in the beginning, we were getting in the worst conflicts that sent us down a path of deep healing and inner work in order to get the relationship that we wanted.
So whether you're on your own healing journey or just looking to improve your relationships overall, we hope that by sharing our lessons and struggles, we help you along your way.
And with that, welcome to the podcast where we accept all of you.
I told the inner circle the other day that we took the family photos, and I was like, I get so wigged out when it comes to family photos that I feel like, or just photos in general, like getting in front of a camera, and I'm so insecure about my smile or the way I look, or just like I haven't done that work to get in front of a camera and feel comfortable. And I was like, so I had BC's voice in my head of like, speak to your confidence. Like, and the whole time I was like, I don't know if I even told you this. I was like, we're models. We are models. And
that's what you were saying
at
the photo shoot?
Yeah. And it worked. It was like, it made me calm. It made me confident. It helped me. And the photographer was freaking amazing with the way that she encouraged us, and she was giving us so much love and encouragement. And so that helped a ton. Her just like just showering us with compliments and love, you know.
I actually had that thought because she was so complimentary and so kind and so encouraging. I was like, is she doing this because we are actually crushing the photo shoot? Or is she just pumping us up so that we crush the photo shoot?
Well, I think both. I think she probably does it for everyone. Like, you know, you want to, but how do you sit there how do you tell two people who aren't maybe comfortable or whatever, like, you're doing so great, like it becomes inauthentic, and so she's reaching. She wasn't reaching. She was feeding off our energy and we were feeding off hers, and it just created this confident energy that was flowing that day in this field. Everyone just felt confident and comfortable, and that was an amazing energy.
Yeah, the girls actually brought really good energy.
Oh, they showed
feeling themselves in their outfits.
Yeah, and you crushed the outfits, so that helped a lot too.
Well, I let them pick out what they feel most confident in.
Yeah, but I was going into that photo shoot a little insecure.
Well, this is actually kind of a funny opening of the episode. Hi, everyone. Yeah. We're back with the All of You podcast, and we took family photos.
We took family photos, and it scared me more than it's just, I'm getting better, but I still struggle in front of a camera to really feel confident in how I'm showing up, you know?
What is so scary for you?
I think what has happened to me in the past is that I wig myself out mentally, and I don't have the confidence that I need. And then my energy gets off, and it's all just about energy, because your energy shows through your face, even in a still photo, you know, like, you could nail your smile, but your eyes can be off. And I haven't even seen the photos yet. Maybe the photos are shit. But I felt good. I was feeling myself. Yeah, you just can't fake energy. Yeah, authenticity is a superpower. And so you just can't fake that energy. Inauthenticity comes from insecurity. And so, you know, we're paying money for somebody to shoot photos of us. And I have this desire to look my best, but really deep down, I'm scared that I'm not going to look my best. So then I begin to feel awkward and unsafe, and my energy gets sidetracked. So what I did is, like, I even asked everyone right before, I was like, what's your happy thought?
They said ice cream.
Yeah, that's great. Having a happy thought was really helpful when I had that kind of negative vibe going.
What was your happy thought?
You guys.
Oh,
yeah, my family, like, just feeling grateful for being there, taking those photos. When you go through a divorce and you're in a family that's rocky, or just you don't have that secure relationship, I don't know. I have a unique perspective. You have a unique perspective that I'll never understand of our relationship, being 35 and taking these photos. Like I get your perspective, but I'll never fully understand it, and you understand mine, but it's just a unique perspective on that day.
I'll never totally know what it feels like to go through a divorce, lose my family, and recreate a new one.
Yeah.
That's a pretty unique perspective. Not entirely unique. People do it, but it's really hard to do. It's hard to do well.
Yeah, and it's really scary, and I never thought I'd do it again. I never thought I would open myself up to that love, which is kind of what we want to talk about today, which is the insecurities. Yeah. We've talked about it a lot, but we wanted to get into that. We wanted to go deeper into that subject. It's really at the heart, to me. It is everything we talk about, almost everything we talk about on the positive side: abundance mentality, love, forgiveness, healthy relationship, learning how to be interdependent in your relationship. Then the root of all the evil that's attacking it is fear and insecurity. And really, insecurity is fear. Insecurity is feeling unsafe and scared. And being scared, living scared is a very low vibration, and it's sad. No one should have to live scared.
But so many of us do.
Yeah. And we're so used to that then we do everything in our power to not feel scared.
So would you say that you thinking you would never give love another chance, what was that coming from? Fear, insecurity? Like what was the root of that thought?
Yeah, it was, complete insecurity. I mean, the pain of divorce and the pain that it caused the girls, it was just too risky.
Too risky to feel that pain again.
Yeah, and have to go through that dividing of a household that it's just so painful that it felt too risky to love again.
So how did you work through that?
God. Really a lot of inner work in realizing that it's worth it. Realizing that love is worth the risk, even if you get hurt again. If you don't think love is worth the risk, then you won't love, and you won't stretch yourself to love, and you will live lonely. So fear of love, fear of that pain just keeps us stuck. It's everything. Everything about personal growth, to me, is about insecurity. And it's finding your insecurity in every moment. I hate that we label, I'll say this a million times, I hate that we label people insecure. No one, to me, is an insecure human. We just have been wounded in our past, and then therefore we don't want to get hurt in those same wounds. And if they're not healed, it's literally like a cut on your hand, and so you're babying your hand so you don't expose it to pain again, because unless it heals and scars over, you're gonna baby it like you would a broken arm and put it in a cast, and you're kind of like hiding it behind you. So that's what we do with our emotional selves. If we get hurt, since I got hurt by my dad when I was really young, men became scary to me, and all of a sudden any relationship with another man, I'm going into it kind of casted, protected, scared that I'm going to get hurt. So therefore I'm not playing free. I'm not opening myself up to get hurt because I'm already hurt and I can't get hurt again. So then I go through a divorce and I can't. And then I'm going into any relationship like really scared I can't get hurt again. it would crush me. So then I'm protective and I'm playing scared.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think to go a little bit deeper on that wound aspect, there are situations that are going to create wounds, traumatic events like your dad leaving, but then there's also societal conditioning that can create wounds inside of us. And I think the most prevalent one, and it's probably top of mind for me with two girls, one going into middle school next year, is the conditioning of society and body image, where I remember growing up and everyone shopped like at Victoria's Secret. That's where you got your underwear. And you go into the store, or you see the magazine and the ads, and that body type is one that is unachievable for most women. It is a tiny, tiny waist and really big breasts. And if you don't look like that, it subconsciously made you feel like, oh, I'm different. Oh, I'm not what society is saying is beautiful. And that narrative was replayed on TV growing up, in commercials growing up, in magazines. And I think that has caused a lot of women to have insecurities around their body because society conditioned us to believe that there is one type of beauty. And so wounds can come from a traumatic event, but it can also come from these narratives that society plays over and over repeatedly until we start to get programmed in our mind to believe that that's what the truth is. And then when we think that the truth is we need to look a certain way in order to be beautiful, we are out of reality, because that isn't actually the truth. If you go to the source of like, God created us all in his image and to be beautiful, or even if you don't believe in God, I think it's a very easy concept to digest of you don't have to look a certain way in order to be beautiful. And however, that really wasn't the narrative in my youth that was taught. And I can see now in so many friends and even in myself that there's struggles around, oh, I can't wear that. I don't look good in it. Or what do I wear to this event? I feel overweight right now. What are people going to think if I wear this? And so we have all these insecurities in our mind because we were wounded to believe that we had to look a certain way in order to be beautiful. And I know that was like kind of a little bit of a rant, but I wanted to give that example.
You're allowed to rant. It's a podcast.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's what we do here. But I wanted to give that example because I think a really powerful thing for me in working through insecurities is questioning where they came from. Where did the narrative come from? And like whatever my insecurity is, where did I get that narrative? And is that narrative true? And then when I can get to the source of what the truth is, I can start to reprogram my mind to go, oh, yeah, I don't need to be insecure about that. That was just really bad conditioning that happened to me.
Yeah, and it comes down to faith and trust. So if you are insecure or unsafe, like let's give a scenario. Well, I'll just say this, like for both of us, our situation is really scary. Bringing someone in to raise the girls with me, giving up some of my time with the girls, which I only have half the time to allow input on how they're raised, was really scary for me. It is a scary situation. But so you asked me in the beginning, like, how did I overcome those fears of bringing somebody in to my family and being willing to start a family again with someone? It's trust. It's learning how to trust and learning how to have faith and risk. So healing that original wound is helpful, but also just realizing that, are you a trusting person? It's okay to say no. I think this is the biggest mistake that most of people make, that I made, is we want characteristics like trusting, forgiving, generous, We want to be loving. No one out there says like, I don't know how to love well, but just say it. Like, it's easier to just admit it to yourself and go, I am not in a place where I feel like I can trust somebody again. And I think there are mature people that understand that and are self-aware, but not everybody is like that. And then they end up, wanting the other aspects of relationship. They want to have a partner that they can watch Netflix with and talk to, or they want the emotional support of a partner, but they don't want to actually have to trust a partner, because that's hard. That's difficult. But that partner requires trust. And if when I didn't trust you, you would call me out and you actually would say, I demand to be trusted.
Well, yeah, because I didn't do anything to break your trust. So that was...
Even if you did, like, even times where like
right.
you didn't show up as good as you could have, or moments that you let yourself down or me down or the girls down by being triggered or upset or whatever, you give that trust again and again and again. You have to get to a point where you're seeing another person in their imperfections, in their struggle, and going, I am going to sit in the passenger seat with you for our entire life, and I'm going to watch you make wrong turns. You're not going to make every turn right. And I just go, you got to get to a point where you're like, this is the person that I trust the most to make the most accurate turns. Like, you're going to make the turns accurate more often than not. And certain types of turns, maybe they take most of the turns well, but they don't know how, they struggle with U-turns and they struggle with parallel parking, and that's their struggle, but they know how to navigate and get you there on time and safely. Like, you just pick your battles with someone and go, I'm going to work with them and I'm going to highlight maybe, what I do and help them along the way, but I'm going to be here as a support and a partner in it and as a teammate. If they make a wrong turn, I'm not going to blow up on them. And I try to make that commitment to you. It's hard sometimes, but if you make a wrong turn, I really try my hardest to just go, you're allowed to make mistakes. Let's move on. Let's keep going.
I want to bring that back to insecurity, though. How does my making a wrong turn affect your security or insecurity?
Well, in the analogy, it might be a stretch, but basically any misstep that you might make where you don't handle a situation perfectly could injure me in a wound I haven't healed. And so we're now driving, and I'm just going to take this analogy because this is me double down on an analogy, but we're driving in a neighborhood that I grew up in, and I'm already activated. Maybe I got in a fight around the corner from where we're at, or I know it's a bad neighborhood or whatever, right? I'm getting triggered. I'm getting activated. And then now you make a wrong turn that keeps us stuck in that neighborhood another 5 minutes. And I could easily blow up on you about that. Or I can just realize there's no difference on your part from making a wrong turn in that neighborhood versus anywhere else. But me, I have the wound about this. Like, this is my trigger. I can ask you to tread lightly when we're in this neighborhood. And I'm using like I hope it's not too far of a stretch, but like the neighborhood is basically the concept of the wound. When I was little, I was really wounded in feeling like I carried my baby fat too long. And in junior high, I really struggled over my physical appearance. Like, there was other kids who quickly got out of their baby fat, and we ran around skateboarding. We were doing all kinds of stuff. 11-year-old boy who's running around all the time, a lot of times basically has a six-pack. And so a lot of my friends were really looked kind of built and fit earlier on, and I still had this like baby fat until I was in later of junior, probably high school really, when I started surfing more and it like wore off kind of, but I always was insecure. So like if I told you this and then at some point you poked that wound, that could feel extra mean, you know? So I could tell you to tread lightly around my insecurities, but we always say this, is it your job to tread lightly around my insecurities, or is it my job to heal my insecurities?
I think it's meeting in the middle.
We always say both, because if you're in a partnership, you have extra little ammo. You can poke somebody where it hurts really badly, and it's important to try not to do that, and that is loving. But as a partner with insecurities, you don't want to make your partner tiptoe all the time. That's where the walking on eggshells feels like. It's like, hey, I'm walking on eggshells with all your insecurities. Are you going to do anything to try to make this easier on me? And it's this, both. Like if I'm leaning in to tiptoe around your insecurities, you're showing up to heal your insecurities. We're now in this positive vibe. It's like the photographer showing up and giving us positive reinforcement. We're doing our work to feel better, and it just catches this momentum.
Yeah, that analogy actually tied it in very well. So I think I
nailed one of them.
There were a lot in there. That was a analogy sandwich with extra pickles. But did I just give an analogy? Is that analogy? Oof. Where I want to actually go is, how do you heal an insecurity? I think my thought is, and this is where I go with just healing in general, is the first step is always awareness. So you have to know you have the insecurity to even begin the process of trying to heal the insecurity. So, and that's the same with wounds. That's really the same with anything, is if you don't have the awareness of it, there's not really, you can't change it, right?
Yeah.
And then I think personally, the next step is always going to a place of self-compassion and knowing and kind of acknowledging, I have this because of a wound, or I have this because of conditioning. I have this, like this because something happened to me, but that doesn't say anything bad about me. And I am still enough. I am still lovable, and just really going heavy on the compassion. I think those for me are like, when it comes to insecurities, always leaning on that, giving yourself compassion for the fact that you have them as that first step.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and it is the hardest thing to do. I mean, I can recall times where I finally admitted to myself some of my insecurities, and started to have grace and compassion. I mean, it will, if you do it in an area that's really wounded, I tend to find for myself, it breaks me. Like I immediately weep because I've been my biggest critic. I would never, ever say to a kid that looked like me, just average looking kid, but maybe doesn't have a six pack at the age of 11, like still just like carrying a little bit of like baby fat. I would never say to a kid the things that I said in my head to myself. I wouldn't. Granted, I also had some pretty big bullies, and that definitely impacted me. I mean,
that's where the wounding comes in. If you were bullied,
yeah,
I'd say 9 times out of 10, you got a wound from it.
My best friend's older brother was like this skinny, tall kid. He was just super skinny, lanky kid. And so he looked like he had like 0% body fat, you know, growing up. And I was not fat. I was not a fat kid, but this is how this complex can work itself in. And he called me Tubby. He would literally, that was his name for me. Like and it was my best friend's older brother. So I would go to his house and he would be like, "What's up, Tubby?" Like that was so the sad name. And it gave it, like, I can't blame him I just didn't know what was happening at the time. I didn't really understand. And so I just had this complex around like fear of taking my shirt off around girls in junior high or just like any situation like that. And this stayed with me until after high school. Really just realized like I need to be okay with my body and really start to accept my body. And it's really difficult. It's still hard to this day. It still affects me. It still is this like over criticizing body image, but I've done so much work in the area. So anyway, all to say, like, it starts with recognizing that you have this wound and you start to care for yourself. But when I pictured another kid that looked like me, I was like, I would take that kid in. I would adopt that kid. Like I would love on that kid. If that was one of my kids that, was struggling with body image, like I would love on that kid. And so why was I so critical on myself, and just realizing this gentleness that I need to approach myself with in order to heal. But admitting it was like, I don't know. It's just this weird thing that when you're really insecure, you want to overcompensate. I mean, I don't overcompensate as much as I could. I still eat ice cream like every night.
True. I want to go back to that part where you said, I finally admitted to myself that I have insecurities. What got you to the point where you were ready to admit that to yourself? And it doesn't even have to be just about body image, but like any insecurities. When did you get to the point where you admitted it?
I mean, I think it's a similar story to a lot of people entering your 30s, and maybe life isn't what you thought it would look like. And if you are a person that is struggling in your 30s in some way, and you feel like you should have everything figured out, you start to go, why? Why do I still feel not good enough? Why do I still feel insecure? It just is wild to me that I felt. So I was a director in a company that I was able to get promoted so many times and was well liked, well loved by everyone. I had bought in a house really early on, and so I was very fortunate in that regard. I was making six figures. Like, I just don't understand why I was insecure. And I had to start to pry open this heart. And like, I remember telling you, like, it got to a point where I had to, in this course that we took, I was writing letters to myself, my inner child, and I felt like I was closing my eyes and I was going inside myself with a flashlight and a pickaxe. And I you picture like a miner, like somebody who's mining caves or something. And I was going inside my heart and I was finding the black tar in my heart. I was like looking around, shining a light, like, where is the insecurities? Where do you not feel safe? Where have you been wounded before? And I got so curious about my inner world, and I got so curious about my life and what happened to me, and trying to look at my life. I tried to look at my past, not like my past, not personally. I tried to look at it like I was somebody else looking at myself, and going in and just being like, that happened. Okay, how did that affect you? You have this memory that's coming up that's like, and as before, when a bad memory would come up, I would smack it. I'd go, nope, not going there. I don't want to see that reality. That's the word. Why would I ever go back there? Like, why would anyone want to go back in their past? But
yeah, especially to the times you were hurt, you were wounded, you were bullied, you were abandoned, you were neglected.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go back to that?
It's so much easier to just go, that didn't affect me. But what if it did? What if it affected you and you are avoiding the pain, and so therefore you have a wound that's not healed? And the way that I could heal it, I remember telling you this, I would go in there and it's like I took a pickaxe and just chipped away at this memory. I'd let the memory come up, and then I started going in with Neosporin. So I wasn't going in with a pickaxe anymore. I was going in with a flashlight and Neosporin and a Band-Aid. And I was like babying these wounds and being like, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Because a lot of the things that is really vulnerable to admit is like the wounds created insecurities, and then I wounded others in some way. Like
because of the insecurities.
Yeah, I wasn't being the person. I wasn't being the kind-hearted, loving person that I knew I could be and I wanted to be. But these wounds were like showing up. Like I remember being really just insecure as like a junior high kid. Anything that I did was like always out of this insecurity. And so going in and being like, okay, how did that happen? Like, how did I start to show up that way? And in all honesty, it really came down to, for me, and this might not be everyone, but for me, allowing these memories to come up and nurture them, it allowed space for more memories to come up. And then all of a sudden, we'd be sitting there, and this is why I advocate for partnership in healing, because you can get a therapist, you can pay somebody, and that's great. Like, do that. And it's helpful to create this safety, because you might not have it in your partnership. Like I had to pay other people. We didn't have a partnership where I could just dump on you like this stuff at one point. But it got to a point where the partnership became so healing when I could be like, hey, I had a memory come up last night. Can I talk to you about this? Can I share this darkness with you? And I felt safe enough where you weren't going to leave me or run. That was really healing for me, when I felt like I could share these darker parts of myself and expose them and not feel like it made me a bad person or whatever. Like I remember bullying some kids in junior high or in elementary school, and it breaks my heart. And I also remember being bullied. It doesn't make it okay what I did. I'm actually more ashamed of the bullying than I am about being bullied. But so the way that it worked was like I didn't want to remember that I was the bully sometimes. And I had to allow myself to remember that.
Well, and your body will disassociate from those memories to protect itself, and the ego will do that to protect itself. And so your body has to feel safe for those memories to surface and come up. And that's why so many people can't remember a lot of their past or a lot of their childhood if there were traumatic things that happened, because your body will not allow the memory to resurface until you actually are safe enough to let the memory surface. So that's how we can bury a lot of our past hurt and past trauma and our past wounds. Is the body does that because it's a protective mechanism inside of us. But actually, I wanted to also go back to kind of what you said in the beginning of that about having the safety of a partner to talk through those memories with. I'm a huge advocate for that, obviously, because we have that in our relationship. But I want to speak to those that don't have that, those that are partnered and don't have that, or those that are single and don't have that, because it's very much an equal playing field. When we first started this work, I was in a program with women, and it was a group cohort, and I was able to start sharing things to this group of women. And even that act of them holding a safe space for me to say, hey, here's my truth, and them not judge me for it and not think negatively of me for it was an incredibly healing experience. And so I just want to advocate for those that don't have a partner to talk through this with. There are people who you can talk through this with. It can be a friend, it can be a coach, it can be a therapist. There's different avenues. So I wouldn't say wait till you have a partner to do this work, because it is a beautiful thing to have in a partnership, and I think it's something to strive for if you're in a healthy relationship. But don't let that stop you, because there are ways you can still get that and your needs met.
Yeah, and DM us if you are curious or want help. We'll meet with you to discuss it and just talk through it.
Yeah, I think that's something that it's people holding space for the parts of me that were wounded and loving me through it has been so impactful in my life that I deeply want to hold that space for others, because I think it's one of the greatest ways I've ever felt love was to be held in, for people to hold that safe space for me. And I think that's it's such a way that I want to love others.
It is love. Like that is love, is going, yeah, you're wounded, and I'm going to create a space where you don't feel isolated or rejected or alone because of those wounds. And it's a lot of times we seek to be seen by the people that hurt us. So like for me, seeking healing for my dad to finally see my wounds, like it just wasn't working. He wasn't, it's too hard for him to see how he wounded me. So for me to go to other people is helpful, and it kind of kicks it off. And once you find that there are people that can see you and love you, then you can start to heal. And then once you heal, you can call in a healed partner or another partner who's healing also. But if you are, not willing to admit your own insecurities, you're probably going to attract somebody who doesn't want to admit theirs either. And then you just play this game.
Well, we choose partners who are wounded to the same level that we are. Not the same wounds, but the same
hot take
level. Yes. So I'm a big advocate for healing in your single journey or in your singlehood, because you'll attract in a better partner if you do the work before then.
Yeah. But it starts with being able to admit it. So, and really like the cue for me is memories that come up that would cause me pain. So like if you have a memory that comes up that's painful to think about, sure, that's an alarm. That's a signal that's telling you have a wound from the past, and it sucks. But doing work on that and having a partner, a therapist, someone to go into that with is really helpful. And then healing that wound could really allow you to live more free in the future. And so you just got to put those wounds in care for a little bit, but checking yourself in to the doctor is the first part. And you can be your own doctor if you read enough books and do enough. I mean, there's enough information out there where I'm a big fan of being your own doctor. I just think mental health is so rampant. Like poor mental health is ruining our society, and you have so many people coping in so many ways and really seeking money to exorbitant, like we're playing a game of Monopoly, and there's billionaires and they're buying up everything, and the lower class is kind of, like is not going to, the game of Monopoly, all the money ends up in certain people's hands. It's just the way it works. And so for us to start to really heal as a society, it comes down to mental health and love, and not coping or overcompensating for our insecurities. I literally listened to a podcast yesterday on a billionaire saying it's never enough. It's never enough. He's like, I could keep going. I'm still chasing. It's never enough. And he knows that about himself and he's working on it. But he's like, money was the solve. If I had enough money, then I could feel safe because I could solve everything with money. So what'd he do? He became a billionaire. Like, that's insane. You have that much insecurity to the point where you have to become a billionaire. Maybe, we could start to heal our society a little bit if people aren't so insecure.
Well, and it's never enough because the wound isn't healed.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that, not because we're millionaires by any means, but because I've felt the feeling of no dollar amount in my bank account will ever give me security. I never felt secure no matter how much I had in savings. And that's because of a wound within me that I had to heal.
Yeah. What will make you feel safe is healing. Healing will make you feel safe.
Yeah. And I think to kind of go back into like the steps of healing through insecurity, I think the final one that I try to reach is getting into reality. So the reality is I am safe no matter what, or not necessarily no matter what. I am safe if I have 6 months worth of savings in my account. I don't need 7 years worth of savings in my account to be safe. Like, getting into what reality is, or reality could be my body is beautiful just as it is, and actually believing that reality and not believing past conditioning. So whatever that insecurity is that has you feeling unsafe, it's figuring out, are you in reality? And if you're not, what is reality? And then operating from that place. So, and that, I think a common one is that insecurity of, I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough or good enough. And going back into reality of, oh, wait, I actually am enough. Who's to say that I am not? What part of me is not enough? And like going in and starting to believe, figuring out where the conditioning or the wound is that has you believing that you're not enough, and going, oh, yeah, that's totally off. The truth is this, and then believing the truth. And what helps me to believe the truth, as silly as this sounds, is positive affirmations of when I figure out what a past belief that I have is that's incorrect, I then reverse it into what the correct belief is, and I make it an affirmation, and I'll try to say it to myself. I either record it and I'll listen to it in the morning, or put a Post-it note somewhere, but like get myself to actually believe what reality is and stay in reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's the mission for healing insecurities is you nailed it, getting back into reality. So anytime, if you're insecure, anytime that you feel that feeling, you feel activated, you feel what's happening in your body is just feeling unsafe. And if you feel unsafe, check around, look around. Is it safe? Is it not safe? And if you're reacting like it's unsafe when it's safe, you're kind of like a person that's afraid to go outside because the sun might burn them. It's safe outside, but you don't know it's safe. So this is what every movie's ever written about. This is what overcoming insecurity is, the mission in life. It's growth. It's because we don't want to see another human suffering when they don't need to be. We don't like to see another human that's cooped up inside, afraid to go outside, when we know the sun is good for them. And that morning sun is good for, it's really sad to watch another human suffer, especially from their own mental health and just not being in reality about the situation. Or it just is sad to feel that unsafe doing an activity that would actually be good for you. Now, everybody gets to decide that for themselves. If you are hurt and wounded so bad that you don't want to go outside, that's up to you. Like, I don't ever want to tell somebody that they have to go outside, because your wounds are valid. And
they're tender.
Yes, and they're tender, and sometimes just sit inside with a blanket over your head if you need to, like whatever you got to do. But if you're at the point where you want to overcome your insecurities, then getting help and kind of taking one foot and putting it outside and being like, the sun isn't going to burn me, like coming back to reality. It's just all is like, you can't even start to dissect it if you can't look at reality. And the reality is the sun dangerous? Yeah, if you go out without sunscreen all day long and no clothes on, you'll get burnt and you'll probably get cancer or whatever. So, it could be dangerous for you. But how much sun is okay and actually good for you? Like, you just have to be able to be in reality to even start to figure out how to handle a situation. That is a rant.
This is a ranty episode, but I think all coming from a place of passion.
Yeah, I mean, we've just worked on this ourselves in so many ways and helped each other overcome insecurities. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, it literally feels like I've seen you be afraid of the sun in certain areas. And I'm like, it's okay. Come outside. And then you do. And it's like, look at this. Look how cool this is. I mean, even hopping on these microphones was really scary for both of us. And we've been able to encourage each other and like, get out, take the family photos, and feel comfortable and energetic and good within your body. Let's help. We need to start helping each other in society to come out of our shells instead of do the opposite, which is criticize and bully and create a lot of insecure humanity.
Well, and I think that goes back to the concept of hurt people hurt people. So if the more you heal, the less you hurt others. And that is how we as a collective rise. So
yeah,
that's the best way that you can love and help others, is to work on healing the insecurities you have so that you're not projecting them onto others or hurting others because of them, because you're protecting yourself.
Well, yeah, it's like if somebody comes to me with a body image issue or something going on with their physical appearance that they're insecure about, I can have so much grace and love on that person, and I could probably help them because I've dealt with that. So anything that we deal with, we can now help others deal with because we've been there. We've walked that road, that almost to a T. It's a little different, but you're like, hey, I've walked down this path. It looks scary, but you can come on. We can get there, and having somebody that can help you is huge.
Well, and we say we, but I think really that's all of us as a collective. Whatever you've been through, you can help someone else who's in a position that you used to be in to grow through. Not just us, but I think that's many people, if not most people, I don't know the statistic number, find their calling through helping people that are going through things that they had gone through before.
Yeah, that should be what we're all doing all the time, is just helping somebody walk who's where we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago. And it's like, yeah, I was there. This is the you turn left on this turn, you turn right on that turn, and then you help them go, and you're moving along and somebody's helping you, and then we're all just pulling humanity up to a level of safety and security and belief in themselves. And then you look around and everyone feels safe, because if the collective is not doing well, you're going to need to prep. You're going to go into prepper mode.
Well, and I think it's important that we actually eat our own dog food on this one. Sorry, that's a really terrible sales saying. Maybe we should drink our own champagne, whatever you want to, how you want to say it. But That's why you have a coach, I have a mentor, because we are not at where we want to be in our healing journeys, in our businesses, in our personal life, in our in all different aspects. And so in order for us to get where we want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we also are looking to those that are ahead of us and going, hey, how did you get there? Can you help me? Can you guide me? Because I see where you're at, and that looks really nice. What's the roadmap? Can you help me get down that road? And I think, so I think it's important to actually admit that, I don't know if admit's the right word, but it's important to state that we have that because we rely on others as well.
Yeah. And I won't ever stop. Like, hey, I'm Dave. I need help. I need help to get to where I want to go. I cannot find that next step without somebody who's been there to show me the way. I know that. I've never been able to really well. Like, I need help, whether watching YouTube videos, reading books. Somebody's going to show me the way. I'm not going to be able to figure it. If alone on a mountaintop with no internet, I'll never be able to find my way to where I want to go.
Or it'll just take you a really, really, really long time.
Yeah, I'm not about that. Like, it's so, and then you're gifting people with helping you.
You're not about that because you love efficiency.
I love gifting people the ability to help me, and I love helping others get to where they want to go too. Like, if I can use my experience to help somebody else, that's all anyone's trying to do. But just know your experience and then go try to find out how to help those that are where you were.
Yeah. Well, the gift of giving is the greatest gift.
The best. Yeah. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.